I've scored band 9 in the IELTS reading test 3 times. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it and how you can use the same approach to score as high as possible on your test. Here's the thing. Many candidates with great English still struggle with IELTS reading, not because they don't understand the passages, but because they don't use the right strategies. They read every single word. They panic when they can't find an answer, and they work through each passage from top to bottom before even looking at the questions. High-scoring candidates do things very differently. They use smart, strategic techniques to stay focused and find the correct answers fast. Strategy makes all the difference. We've helped thousands of students prepare this way through our IELTS packages. They discover how strategic preparation can completely change their results. In this video, I'll show you exactly what those techniques are. You'll get 10 powerful tips that can completely change how you handle the IELTS reading test. If you're tired of running out of time or getting the same score again and again, keep watching. This might be exactly what you need. The IELTS reading test is 1 hour long. In that hour, you need to answer 40 questions based on 3 reading passages. The texts come from academic sources like books, journals, and magazines. You don't need expert knowledge to understand them, but they are still challenging. Each passage comes with a set of questions, and those questions test very different skills. In passage 1, you'll typically face question types like true, false, not given, sentence completion, and matching information. These test your ability to find specific details quickly. Passage 2 introduces questions like matching headings and summary completion. These questions require you to understand the relationships between ideas. Passage 3 is usually the most difficult. You'll often see multiple choice questions and yes, no, not given questions that test your deeper understanding and ability to draw inferences. Now, let's get into 10 specific strategies that can help you score high in the IELTS reading test. Tip number 1 is to read the questions before you read the passage. This is one of the most effective things you can do, and many candidates don't do it. They read the whole passage carefully, which wastes a lot of time. When they want to answer the questions, they have already forgotten what the passage says, then have to go back and search for each answer from scratch. By contrast, when you read the questions first, you know exactly what information you're looking for before you even start reading the text. This completely changes how you approach each passage. Instead of reading everything and hoping something sticks, you go in with a clear focus. You know what names, numbers, or concepts to keep an eye out for. For example, if you see a question that asks about the effects of deforestation on local water supplies, you know that you need to look for this topic in the passage. The second tip is to use skimming and scanning instead of reading every word. Skimming means reading quickly to get a general sense of what a paragraph or section is about. You're not trying to understand every detail. You're just building a mental map of where different ideas are located in the passage. This technique is particularly useful for matching headings questions. Scanning is different. Once you know what you're looking for from the questions, you scan the relevant section of the passage quickly to find the specific information. Your eyes move fast across the text, looking for keywords, names, numbers, or phrases that match what the question is asking about. Many candidates lose significant time in the reading test simply because they read every passage word for word. The texts are long and dense, and reading them fully before answering any questions is a slow and often ineffective strategy. Skimming and scanning allow you to stay in control of your time. Tip number 3 is to identify the keywords in each question before you start searching the passage. Keywords are the words in a question that are specific enough to guide you to the right section of the passage. You need to look for names, places, numbers, and so on. In short, words that are unlikely to be replaced with synonyms in the passage. For example, take a look at this question. According to the passage, the researchers concluded that urban green spaces have the greatest impact on. Here, the keywords are urban green spaces and greatest impact. These are specific, distinctive phrases. You scan the passage for those terms, read the surrounding sentences carefully, and then choose your answer. After you've answered one question, move to the next and repeat the same process. This keeps you focused and stops you from getting lost in the text. Here comes a tip that can make a huge difference. Train yourself to recognize paraphrasing. This is one of the most important skills in the entire IELTS reading test. The questions and answer options will almost never use the exact same words that appear in the passage. The correct answer will express the same idea, but in different words. If you're scanning for the precise wording from the question, you often won't find it. For example, the passage might say, "The initiative was abandoned due to a lack of financial support." The question might ask, "Why did the project come to an end?" The correct answer might say, "Insufficient funding." All three of these phrases mean the same thing, but none of them use identical words. Common paraphrasing techniques in IELTS include replacing nouns with synonyms and changing the sentence structure while keeping the same meaning. Another paraphrasing technique is to use a more general phrase to describe something specific. For instance, conducted a series of experiments in the passage might become carried out research in the question. Now, here is something important. Many IELTS candidates think that knowing a few reading tips is enough to get a strong result, but it's not enough. To do well in IELTS reading, you need to understand exactly how the different question types work and which strategies you need to use to find the answers fast. That's exactly what we teach in our IELTS packages. Our students get step-by-step guidance on how to approach the reading test effectively, so they feel confident and ready on test day. They learn how IELTS reading questions are designed and which strategies they need to apply to answer them successfully. Our IELTS packages include lessons for all tasks, sample answers, practice tests, templates, and much more. If you want expert guidance for your IELTS preparation, click the link below to learn more. Tip number 5 is to be very careful with true, false, not given questions. These are among the most common question types in the IELTS reading test, and they are also among the most misunderstood. The distinction between false and not given trips up a lot of candidates. Here's the key. A statement is false only if the passage directly contradicts it. A statement is not given if the passage simply doesn't mention it at all. This means that the passage neither confirms nor denies it. For example, imagine the passage says this. The study was conducted over a 6-month period at 3 universities in the north of England. A statement might say, the study lasted for 1 year. This statement is false because the passage gives a different time period, 6 months. Now, look at this statement. The lead researcher had previously worked in Australia. This statement is not given because the passage says nothing about this at all. The mistake many candidates make is choosing false when they can't find something in the text. But just because something isn't mentioned doesn't mean it's false. Only mark false if you can point to a specific sentence in the passage that says the opposite. Tip number 6 is about matching headings questions. These questions ask you to match a heading from a provided list to each paragraph or section of the passage. There are usually more headings than paragraphs, so you might have some left over. The key to answering these questions well is to focus on the main idea of each paragraph, not the specific details. Each paragraph has one central topic, and the correct heading will capture that topic in a concise way. Headings that focus on minor details mentioned in the paragraph are usually distractors. They sound relevant, but don't represent what the whole paragraph is about. Here's a useful approach. Read the first sentence and the last sentence of each paragraph first. The first sentence often introduces the main idea, and the last sentence often wraps it up or reinforces it. Once you have a sense of what the paragraph is mainly about, look through the list of headings and find the one that matches. Here is one more piece of advice. Do the easiest ones first. If you can confidently match some paragraphs straight away, do that. Then use the process of elimination for the ones you're less sure about. Narrowing down your options makes it much easier to find the correct headings. Tip number 7 is essential. Don't spend too long on one question. With 40 questions and 60 minutes, you have roughly 1.5 minutes per question on average. That's not much time. Many IELTS candidates get stuck on a difficult question, spend 3 or 4 minutes going back and forth, and then rush through the rest of the section. As a result, they make careless errors on the easier questions they rush through at the end. If you've read the relevant section of the passage twice and still aren't confident, make your best choice and move on. Don't leave a question unanswered. There is no penalty for wrong answers in IELTS reading, so a guess is always better than a blank. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. Now, let's continue with 3 more essential tips for IELTS reading. Tip number 8 is about completion questions. Things like sentence completion, summary completion, and note completion. These question types require you to fill in a gap with words taken directly from the passage. The most important rule here is to read the instructions carefully. The instructions will tell you how many words you can use. For example, no more than 2 words or 1 word only. If you write more words than the limit allows, your answer will be marked wrong, even if the information is correct. When you find the relevant section of the passage, read it carefully and select only the words that fit grammatically and logically into the gap. Make sure you take the answer from the passage itself. Don't rephrase or paraphrase. You need to identify the right words and copy them accurately. Also, check your spelling. Spelling errors will cost you marks. Take a moment to copy the words carefully and double-check them before moving on. Here comes tip number 9, which is about multiple choice questions. Many candidates find them challenging. This is because all 4 answer options are usually based on information that actually appears in the passage. However, only 1 answer choice is correct. The wrong options are called distractors, and they work in specific ways. Some distractors take a true statement from the passage and change 1 small detail. Others combine 2 separate ideas from the passage in a way that sounds logical but doesn't actually reflect what the author says. Others make a claim that goes further than what the passage actually states. The best way to handle multiple choice questions is to go back to the passage and test each option against what the text actually says. Don't rely on your memory. Read the relevant section, then check each option one by one. Rule out the ones that are clearly wrong and then compare the remaining options carefully. If you're unsure between 2 options, ask yourself which one is more directly supported by the text. The correct answer will always be grounded in something the passage explicitly states or strongly implies, not something that just sounds reasonable. Finally, tip number 10 is about time management. You have 60 minutes to answer 40 questions, and the 3 passages increase in difficulty. Passage 1 is the most accessible, Passage 2 is more demanding, and Passage 3 is the most challenging. A good general approach is to spend around 17 to 20 minutes on each passage. This gives you a rough guide to follow. However, you'll need to adjust depending on how quickly you're moving through each section. Keep an eye on the clock throughout the test. If you find that a passage is taking too long, use the process of elimination. Make your best guess and keep going because every mark counts. That's it. Those are 10 essential tips for the IELTS reading test. If you want expert guidance for your IELTS preparation, check out our IELTS packages using the link below. Our packages include step-by-step guidance, practice tests, templates, and other useful resources to help you feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their IELTS score too. See you in the next video!